Hi everyone, this is Vivek Srivastav. Welcome to my channel. Today we have a very special guest episode for you. We have Subhajit Bhattacharya with us. And Subhajit is a technology, innovation, and startup coach. During his career, he has worked in multiple industries and also is currently a part of the Ministry of Education and Ministry of Commerce and Industry. He is also currently mentoring multiple startups. So thank you for joining us, Subhajit. I'm really looking forward to this. I think we're going to have a very insightful episode with you, and I'm sure you'll give us a lot of very useful and valuable advice. Tell us a little bit about your background. How did you get started in all these, multiple areas that you're involved in right now?
Yeah, sure. So, Vivek, my career started as a software developer, software engineer after completing my engineering, and it went in the way that I joined my first organization, IBM, and then following to that TCS and so on and so forth. During that journey, I came across several companies during that time. I'm talking about way back in 2006, 7, like that, wherein I came across several such companies which like the founders of those companies were very much aspired to come up with something new to impact the market with. And during those days, I remember being called to be a consultant or to become software to be part of the software industry is a big thing. So and so the career started my inclination towards this startup started sometime those years. Although I always had a back of my mind, I always had a thought that what if I would have my own organization, maybe into IT or maybe into education or so on and so forth. But somewhere or other, I had to start. So I one fine day somewhere in 2008, one of the few two founders came to me. They were from IIT Kharagpur, and they shared their idea, the problem statement, and all, and I really found it quite promising. And that was a time when I would say formally, I took a step forward and started coaching them, started guiding them how they can go ahead into their startup journey, what are all the support that they might be looking for, and therefore how I can extend the needful support to them. And to be very honest, that was although I started as a coach, but somewhere in the journey I found that somewhere or other I'm very much connected to them, because it's a shared success or a shared failure. So and that was the time when I started learning that how a startup can enter into the market, what are all the challenges the startup may face at the initial stage, how the startup should identify the potential market, the potential customers, and all, and how they can do the marketing part, so that it may get maximum reach. People should be aware of what is their offerings, and following to that they can go ahead in their journey. That was, I would say, that was the time, 2008 somewhere, I started this journey while helping one of the startups. And following to that, I start getting more and more number of startups as I proceeded in this journey. And now I would say I have quite a good number of startups whom I have mentored or mentoring. Few of them are in their growth stage as well, working with some of the prominent clients, international clients, I would say, and they have really done fantastic job in the entire cycle wherein I have been involved with them very closely.
Wonderful, wonderful. So I guess you knew right at an early point that the regular 9 to 5 kind of job was not for you, right? I also always never felt like I fit into the 9 to 5.
For me, to be very honest, Vivek, it's not about 9 to 5. It's basically 9 to, I
Right.
don't know what is the last, what is the time when I should go off to sleep, because
Right.
sometimes it also becomes now 2 o'clock in the early morning or 3 early morning, and then I go off to sleep, and again in the morning I have to wake up for my.
Right. No, by 9 to 5, I didn't mean the hours. I meant that kind of that structured corporate environment. You come, you do your work, you go, you only do that work, you don't do anything else. I always found that to be very, very stifling. Like I had all this creativity. I want to suggest improvements, changes, but, they didn't appreciate that. So,
Absolutely. I believe like this is a kind of passion that I am carrying.
yeah.
So though today also I am very much associated with one of the global Fortune 500 companies, but at the same time, what I feel that if you have got some passion, if you have got some hobby,
Mhm.
while you are doing your regular job, you should be equally committed for your passion, which will basically ultimately which will give you a kind of meaning in your life. And I believe like this is one of the best ways through which I can very well say that yes, in the entire journey today I can define myself to be a coach. um, I don't know, it's I'm still learning, so
Right.
still like I have achieved quite good. I am yet to achieve something more as well.
So tell me, Subhajit, this is something I would like to know personally for myself to implement myself is how do you get that much knowledge that you can mentor and coach? Because for you to mentor and coach, you have to be very, very knowledgeable yourself, right? And so how did you do that? Did you a lot of studying, reading? Um,
There are three or four parameters. First one is your core area of expertise. Say, for example, if I am from electrical background or electronic background, mechanical or IT, computer science, and all. So I have to be somewhere or other. I have to be subject matter expert. That is very much important because
right.
tomorrow, if you have to mentor or coach someone, unless until you have an idea of your own subject, it will be very much difficult. Maybe like initially you may handhold, but after a while it will be failed. So
Right.
first of all, you must be a subject matter expert. That is first thing. Second one is like like learning is a continuous process. Like I can't call myself to I am very much now learned and this is the last phase. I am still learning, and there are several sources from where I can very well make myself or keep myself abreast of all the updates, like whatever be the new changes that is happening in the technology world, whatever is the changes that is happening in the business world. So one important thing what I understood while I started this journey is that you cannot confine yourself within the boundary of only one particular, I would say, arena.
Okay.
You have to spread across, because ultimately it is not about you are advocating about a technology, but you are basically advocating for an enterprise. And when I'm saying enterprise, it's a business, complete business. And when I'm saying business, that means you should have a good understanding of business strategy, marketing, finance, HR, technology, everything, supply chain, everything end to end. Then only you can help a startup or you can help a business to grow ahead, because these inputs will basically guide them how to plan their activities, how to go and how to deal with the challenges that they may come across. It may happen that it is not always that you will get a startup of your choice. It may happen that many a times, even I am from core technology background, but I have got startups from pharmaceuticals, from agriculture, completely different from mechanical e-vehicles. But I had to, because this is where like it is. although sometimes it is challenging, but that challenges become opportunities for you when you start learning. That is the thumb rule for to become a coach for a startup. That is one thing. And another part is like if someone is coming to you as a founder, so whether you are a coach, whether you are a mentor, whether whatever you are, always do remember that the learning is always bi-directional.
Yeah.
So though they are coming to you assuming that you have knowledge on a particular subject, but at the same time, we should never forget the fact that they are equally enabled
Right.
with the subject areas. And when we share and when we take the knowledge from each other, it is basically it's very much mutual. So I have learned a lot of things from these startups as well, whom I have mentored,
Mm.
and that's a cyclic process. So I am learning something and I am giving something, then again I am learning something, and during the journey also, as I am saying, so that during the journey as well, it is not always that you will get success. Maybe because of something the startup, or you may get failed, but you should embrace that one. I have got failed because of so reason. Now I have to see like how I can rectify it, and whatever be the steps that I have taken to rectify the mistakes that I have done, that is again the learning. So I would say that is why I said like it's a continuous learning, and at the core you have to be subject matter expert as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Subhajit, tell me a little bit about your early days. I mean, I know you said you helped out some friends and it kind of started that way. But, what, in the beginning, it's probably few clients, shortage of funds, all that sort of thing. Do you have any interesting stories to tell us about that time? Like, how did you get through the early stage challenges?
So see, like I don't have any formed organization, to be very honest, as a startup coaching sort of institution or maybe an organization. It is a voluntary service, or I would say, yeah, it's a voluntary service that I am giving to the startups. Yes, not from my end. Certainly, that I have ever felt the funding challenges to run this, because ultimately I have to help the startups. But yes, certainly the startups have faced such sort of problems in their early stage. And normally there are several ways for the startups. Basically, there are several ways to raise the funding part. So very first thing is that like the crowdsourcing is one of the best ways, I would say, like that is
Really?
through.
Is there
And
much of a crowdsourcing setup in India? I know there's a lot in like the United States and other countries, but in India, is there much of
in
a
India, it's still, we are still stuck. You are very much right. So because that is the reason why the most of the startups are going through, like bootstrap at a very initial stage, bootstrap and all, and then they are like basically going. They are basically looking forward for the angel investors or the seed investors to help them out. But even before going to the seed investors or maybe the angel investors, they have to begin their initial journey. And there, like, our role is very important, very crucial, because that is the period when they have got the idea, they are creating the prototype or something, the POC, proof of concept. And that period, I have seen many of the startups were basically facing problem with the funds and all.
right?
There, I help them in a way that many of the universities do onboard these startups, like even IIMs do
Right.
onboard those startups, even IITs too.
Yeah.
And they give an initial funding to help them out. In case, provided that idea must be strong enough. It's not that like any comedy carry is coming. The idea must be strong enough. And they give the minimum financial support so that they can carry ahead with their work.
Hmm.
Once that is done, there are several accelerators, startup accelerators, incubation programs, so which are being run by these top universities, as well as even government of India is also has
Right.
also introduced. So there, these startups can very well registered themselves, and they can at least get 25 lakhs of funding. That's for sure.
Really?
And again, like there are several what you call cohorts that are going on. There are several events that are going. Say, for example, even IIT Bombay is hosting Eureka,
Eureka.
that Asia's largest business model conclave. Even I'm mentoring that one too.
Okay.
So there, I always welcome these startups to get registered there and get their ideas validated first.
Mhm.
There are, like at a very initial stage, there will be certain juries who will be basically validate whether that idea can go to the next round or not. Once that is filtered out, and once that is in the final stage, I will be there, or like people like me will be there to help them out, to take it to the next level, so that they can very well present their working model, maybe the MVP, to the investors. We also help them to create the pitch deck, the elevator pitches and all, so that it should be impactful to the investors for the early stage funding. And from following to that, they can go ahead and they can scale up their products. And following to that, once it is in the market, once it is matured enough for commercialization, then we can take the second step for further funding. Then we can look forward for maybe I would say venture capitalist, or maybe nowadays, like many of the banks are also funding the startups at a very lower interest rate. So those things can be figured out. But at the initial stage, certainly we have taken. I have helped these startups to go through these steps, and they have succeeded as well.
Nice. Wonderful. So, Subhajit, the way I was trying to go about this was, first I will talk about your journey, then we'll talk about startups and what the best practices they should follow and what all a startup founder should do and all of that. So let's finish with your journey. Are you at a stage now where you actually have a consulting company of your own? Do you have employees of your own right now, or are you?
No, as I said, no. As I said, like I am, I don't have any of my company. I'm just doing everything in a voluntary based.
Okay.
So, and it's like I would call myself to one man army.
Yeah.
So I don't employ anyone under me who will be doing any needful on my behalf. So the entire end-to-end activity is being performed by me. So in case any startup is approaching me, then it is my responsibility to help them out and to support them to an extent that they can run the show independently.
Okay, great. So, well, okay, let's then just move on to startups in general. Let's say someone wants to do a startup. Maybe they have an idea, but they aren't sure about it. So, what should they do? Or maybe, Subhajit, would you like to start off by just giving us a complete best practices guide for startups? It's up to you how you want to kind of move forward with this.
Absolutely. So normally it is, I would say, it is assumed that having an idea is good enough to start a startup, or I would say it's a complete myth.
Right.
So it is not like that. Like if you have an idea, and therefore whatever the strongest idea you may have, that means you are good enough to start a startup. Idea is just a kind of fuel to start with an idea, but that fuel has to be poured somewhere so that like the engine may start. So the very first thing is to identify the problem area, the problem statement. Unless until I have identified the right problem, whatever be the idea that is coming in my mind may not be relevant enough. I normally call this idea as a SMART idea. SMART is an acronym. SMART stands for specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time bound. So idea must be SMART, and therefore, once I have identified the solution of the problem that I have found, and when I'm saying problem, It is not just about the problem, but getting deeper into the problem, to the root of the problem. We also call it as root cause analysis. We have to get into the root. We have to analyze why this problem is coming. That is the why part. Why this one is this. If I have identified the first step of the problem, I should get further deep dive. So why this one, why this one, why this one? And therefore, there will be a point when that will be the pinnacle wherein I will see that this is the
ultimate problem. Yeah.
ultimate problem.
The real root of the problem. The 5 whys. In Six Sigma Black Belt, there's the 5 whys.
Yes. And there I have to find what solution, what should be the best solution that can counter this problem. And as I have identified the levels of why, so I have to identify how. It's why, now how I can deal with each and every problem. And then with that, I have to create a proper matrix, like what are all the problems, what are all the solution, and out of this, what is the best optimal solution that I can find it out.
Right. Or even a combined sort of solution that solves the whole thing.
Absolutely, because and then I can very well see the difference, the idea that I have found at the initial stage and the idea that now I have, and I can very well see that the idea which I have identified, that is the solution that I have identified as an idea, is much mature than what I have thought earlier. That is very first part.
Yes.
Second part, like once I have identified the idea, and as I am calling it as a smart idea, that means now this idea has become a project for me. I have to deliver that project, and whatever be the tasks that I perform as part of a project, I have to replicate same thing to that idea. That means I have to start with the initiation, like creating the problem. That it is just like a project charter, simple. What are all the things that I should include as in scope? What are all the things that I should exclude as just like out of scope? Who are all the major stakeholders, like at least those whom I feel to be the consumer, the end users? I have to identify that. And otherwise, like even if I will create something, still I will not be able to map who are all these stakeholders whom I am basically addressing to. It may happen in first glance, I will say like, okay, group of A is my target user. In the second instance, I may select it is the group B, it will be group C, group D, and all. I have to be very much focused upon like who is or who are the target users, first thing, and secondly, how they are going to use it, because every group may consider my application in different ways. It may not happen that okay, the way group A is considering my offering, the same way group B will also look. Group B may look upon from different way. So I have to understand the persona. So once that persona is identified, then I have to go ahead. I have to create the project plan. Then under the project plan, I have to see the very important things, the funding part, the budgeting part, how much I have to spend. Because today I have to, if I'm going to start with the work, I don't know the scope. Even if I know the scope, everything is done, and now I'm going to kick off my work. Certainly, it is quite possible that I would require certain funding to kick off with the work. So that funding part, the budgeting part, is very much important. Then I have to also see like who are all the partners whom I would have to have. That means it's the partner does not mean that how many directors or how many VPs, and it's not like that. Partner simple for a startup, even a peon is also a partner, because that peon is also doing something for that founder. So when I'm saying partner, that means even the developers, even the people who are in the field, each and everyone is the partner.
Employees and third parties. There could be third parties,
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I have to identify who all my employees, who all the partners, or who all the third parties with whom I am going to work, and how I'm going to engage with them. Again, as I'm saying, funding is will be playing a crucial role in the entire journey. I have to also plan some of the risk areas. This is also, we call it as a risk plan, planning the risk. So we have the risk charter. So what are all the major risks that I may get? So it is like proactive analysis of the risk, so that I can very well create risk mitigation plan. In case such risk is coming, then what could be the mitigation action to be taken? It is a proactive approach to manage or handle any kind of risk. And third one is the quality part as well. Somewhere or other, I have to see what are all the quality parameters that I have to put forward when I'm going to launch something into the market. I can't compromise with the quality. Otherwise, maybe at a very first stage, people will be there to purchase, but obviously, it ultimately it is the word of mouth, the feedback that the people will be giving, and my business will go down drastically. So the quality part is very much important. Time management is, again, as I said, like time is very much important. So I have to create different milestones as well when I have to launch my offering. Maybe some of the face, say for example, this WhatsApp, let me take, because this is a common thing, and every person nowadays does have the WhatsApp. Now, when WhatsApp was launched, it had very a very simple look and feel with very limited features, like you can chat, that's it. But as it went ahead, one after another, new features got added into it, and today it is quite good amount of features are there. This is how we should also come up with. We may have a big dream, but that big dream has to be decomposed into different I would say tasks or different milestones, and each milestone, and we have to be very much determined about when this milestone is going to be delivered. This is how normally we go ahead. And then the execution part, like when we are basically creating, when we are basically developing or manufacturing the product or the service, whatever we are basically talking about, and then we are going to launch it. We are basically planning how to launch that one into the market, how to penetrate into the market, who are all our target customers, target segments, everything. And then once all these things are done, then we are very much into the production part. That means either yeah, it's a go live kind of. So like now my product is very much available in the market, or my service is very much available in the market. Now people can go ahead, can purchase or subscribe to it, because nowadays like most of the things are on the cloud, so we can very well subscribe to it and we can utilize that one. So if it is related to service, I can subscribe to it. If it is related to product, then I can very well go ahead and I can purchase that one. So this is the entire process that we normally follow while we consider an idea to be commercialized in the near future.
Wonderful, wonderful. And then I think after that point, it's growth, and
Absolutely.
then funding and all that.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Now, Subhajit, one thing that about risks, what I personally ran into was, even though I had done all of the above, there's stuff that happens that you can't predict, or just a surprise, or just even getting cheated or backstabbed, which is kind of what happened to me. I had developers who did such a bad job that basically the code was useless. Basically, they cheated me. So, and then because of that, obviously, cost went up, delays happened. So, that's kind of a tough area, because it's not predictable, or I should say, not easily predictable. This kind of a thing where you just, something that kind of unexpected happens. Do you have any thoughts on that?
That is, I would say, that is very common thing in many of the startups. I have seen that they have started the journey, and maybe one of the partners turned back, or the software engineers who have been onboarded, they have left the job in between, because the commitment, what I have found, there is a big question with their commitment, because they, even though I might have onboarded some freshers or some experienced, they always feel that, okay, I should, while I am working on this startup, I'm not sure whether it is promising or not. Let me try somewhere else as well while I am doing this one over here. So I normally suggest, through even founder as well, the way they are thinking, start thinking the same way you to. That doesn't mean that you are not committed to them. You are equally committed to them, but rather being surprised at the 11th hour, you should be ready with the funnel that you have created. I have got 4 software developer. I have got three people in the for the marketing or sales. I have got few for my operational work. So although I know like they are very much dedicated to to this organization, but one thing is sure that unlike big organization, I don't have a bench wherein even if someone is going out, I can very well plug out from the bench and pipe plug into the particular process. So normally I do suggest that you should have plan B as well. Plan B does not mean that the if a person who was onboarded and has gone out, that means you have to really onboard someone. What you can do rather, you can partner with some third party who can outsource his personnel to you for certain activity. Just carry on with it unless until you can you are unless until you are finding someone better or equally good like that person, because the show must not stop, it must go on.
Right.
So if you have a good ecosystem partners with you, one thing is sure that even if someone is going away from your organization, you can very well lend someone from there, and
Right.
the whatever you are doing at the moment, that will not get impacted. It will impact for sure, because the way that person was working, it may or may not be the same, but at least you will be comfortable to in your situation, when you will see that at least the operation is going on, it has not stopped just because of one person who has left.
Right.
So it's basically, we call it as BCP, business continuity plan. We have to prepare that BCP. So again, I'm saying, so BCP is not about something which is CMM level 5 or 3 or 4. It's not about that. The organization must have its revenue in million or billion, then only BCP. Even if you are starting a business just as an entrepreneur, you should have BCP in place, business continuity, business sustainability. If your organization is very much dependent upon the resources, human resources, you should have a very strong BCP plan, because you can't predict the mindset of a person. Today the person might be with you in this organization, tomorrow may not.
Right.
Today the productivity of that person might be at par, but tomorrow, because of any reason, emotional, physical, whatsoever be, that person may not perform as he was performing. So at that time, what would be your second option? So I'm not saying like lay him off or lay her off. No, keep him, so that like he will come to his actual momentum maybe after a while, because he is going through some difficult time at his personal front maybe. But if you have got a BCP, then something is there to help you out. And that is one of the proactive action, I would say, an enterprise should take, whether irrespective of it, whatever be the stage it may be in the initial stage, maybe in somewhere like it has just started the journey, or maybe in the growing stage, wherever it is. But it should have that BCP plan with it. This is my suggestion.
Yes.
to
Yes.
this.
Yes. Yeah. Absolutely. Business continuity plan. Preparing for contingencies. That's very
Absolutely.
important.